its imports into the United States than Australia. That's an important point. We'll continue to engage constructively with President Trump and his administration.
Can I just respond very briefly to 2 points? First, Australia has a consistent position. We believe in free and fair trade because we know trade fuels Australian jobs and Australian profit. So we think that is a good thing, and so we will always advocate with whomever for more open access to markets. The second point I'd make is the point the Prime Minister made in his opening statement. You know, our shared history, our friendship, our alliance, the US status is our most important and principal strategic partner. These are all bigger than this decision.
Thank you, Latika. Just a couple of points. Can I make the distinction between what happened with China and what's happening here? When China imposed a 220% tariff on Australian wine, that killed wine exports the next day, stone dead. That's not what's happened here. Australian wine will now, apparently, go into the United States at a 10% tariff. We'll still continue to sell wine into the United States, but
Yeah.
well, from what I can see, that is not what President Trump has done today. But let's put beef to one side. In respect of all of the products, we will continue to sell our product into the United States. What we're going to do is look for other markets as well to sell our products in. Now, you're right. The agreement with the European Union did fall over beef imports into the EU. The world has changed as of today. The world has changed for Europe. Europe is now subject to a much higher tariff into the United States. If they're sensible, they will make us a better offer on the issues that made the agreement fall over last time, and we will get a free trade agreement with the EU, the largest economy in the world.
We've got a couple more over here. I've said Tom, then Trudy, then Charles, and then we'll go to this side. Tom.
Do you have any early idea of the sort of economic hit Australia can expect as a result of these tariffs? Or are you confident that can be avoided altogether? And just quickly, it appears that pharmaceuticals and bullion have been carved out of the 10% tariffs globally. Is that a good outcome for Australia given the size of our exports in those areas sectors to the US?
Oh, look, we obviously, I'll have more to say about pharmaceuticals very soon, later this morning, to give you a bit of a tip-off of where we're headed next. But we regard this, because it's universal, of course. We'll await an assessment. To be fair to us, we, out of respect to you, are standing up less than half an hour after President Trump's press conference. We, of course, will analyse the impact. But importantly, no country that imports to the United States will have less tariffs than Australia. That's an important point of what has arisen out of today. Trudy.
Just circling back to the beef issue, Donald Trump seemed to make a big song and dance about Australia banning US beef imports here. Is there any willingness from our side to loosen that over time, or is that a red line for you, no US beef?
No, well, what we have done in the negotiations as well, the beef issue was about mad cow disease, to give it its colloquial name, and about also the fact that beef to Australia couldn't be guaranteed of whether it had also come from Canada or Mexico as well. So it was those issues that we're working through. Those issues are being worked through. There is currently frozen beef can come into Australia. We certainly, in the discussions we've had with the United States, put a position that was consistent with ensuring our biosecurity is looked after. Then we would give consideration. But that didn't progress, and so that is where we are at this point. Charles.
Prime Minister, how did you find out about the tariffs Australia would be receiving? And given India, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Cambodia have all received high tariffs, does this make our job as like-minded democracies in the region harder, pushing back against China?
There's no doubt that the response on a range of issues be it action on climate change as well as trade issues, will affect the strategic competition that's here in the region. There's no question that that will occur. And countries will have their own assessments of that. We've been expecting this decision. We put a position to the United States. The United States responded. We responded to them. There's been a series of written to and fro, if you like. There's been negotiations with Mr. Lutnick and with others in the United States as well. So this came as no surprise to us. We had prepared for a period of time the response, the 5-point response that we've announced this morning. We met as leaders last night, and again had contact this morning with obviously the relevant ministers as well as our economic ministers. Just here.
Given structural issues at the WTO, what confidence do you have that any complaint Australia makes will be progressed? And one for Minister Farrell, you walked away from negotiations last time with the EU. Will you walk away again if they don't offer greater market access for ag products?
These take some time, the WTO. We know that that's the case. Our free trade agreement with the United States does have dispute resolution mechanisms. We want this to be resolved in a way that avoids those contests. And if I can be so bold as to answer on your behalf, we'll always stand up for our national interest. The agreement with the EU wasn't good enough. We walked away. If it's good enough, we'll sign up.
Prime Minister.
Just here. We're going.
Just so Tess gets her answer, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And how significant could a strategic reserve of critical minerals be? Could that be a bargaining chip in trying to get a better deal for Australia from the White House?
Australia's in a strong position. We've got the whole periodic table just about in this country. That's a good thing.
Prime Minister, Peter Dutton's been on 2GB already this morning describing your inability to get that third phone call as a significant failure. What is the strategy now for getting the President on the phone, and what are you hoping Greg Norman can do to assist Australia's case?
Well, one is what I'd like is for Peter Dutton to stand up for Australia and to back Australia's national interest. This isn't a time for partisanship, I wouldn't have thought, but people will draw their own conclusions about his behaviour that you've just indicated. That's consistent with last time around on aluminium and steel, where Mr. Dutton came out and was critical of Australia, not critical of the United States for imposing these tariffs, even though they were universal and across the board. And Greg Norman is, of course, a great Australian. I had dinner with him last night. He's someone I've got to know over the years. He's my nominee on the Olympic board for the Brisbane 2032 Olympics. We are using every asset at our disposal. Ministers, people in departments, our embassy in Washington DC, our business community links and our other links as well to advance Australia's national interests.
Prime Minister, the other day you appeared to play down the significance of your personal relationship with Donald Trump when it came to securing this carve-out. In other settings, you talk about your dear friendship with Narendra Modi as key to that relationship. Yeah. Is that an inconsistency? And just back to Charles's question, we understand that talks have been ongoing, but when did the White House give you their final confirmation on their decision? On the first, no. On the second, we were very clear about where this was headed.
Prime Minister, what is your message to Australians, including those inside the Labor movement, who will see this as another reason for Australia to start pulling back in relationships with the US, including reconsidering AUKUS?
Our relationship with the United States is an important one for us, and our defence relationship with the United States is one that's in our interests.
Prime Minister, have you spoken to Ambassador Kevin Rudd this morning since this announcement? What is he
I've chosen to speak to you first. I came straight down here, with respect.
Well, then when will you speak to him? What message will you convey to him? And are you still confident that he can advocate
I have spoken with Kevin Rudd on a daily basis over recent times, as have ministers. There are some who... I'll make this point about Kevin Rudd. No one can question Kevin Rudd's work ethic. Kevin Rudd works relentlessly in Australia's national interest, and he has developed very positive relationships with key people in the Trump administration.
There seems to be some uncertainty about whether Australian beef export will be banned. Have you or have any government officials had any conversations with US officials about whether beef would be targeted and banned? Did we know this was coming?
We have come straight from, we've given you respect, refer to previous answers, by coming straight here. We are aware that beef has been an issue. That's been, as I said to an earlier answer, this is one of the issues that we were negotiating over between Australia and the United States. That did not reach an agreement because the United States did not reach an agreement with any nation.
First of all, I think the thrust of that question was, did you have any inkling that a ban on beef was possible before today?
We have been, well, I refer to previous answer, yes.
Yeah, secondly, the Trump administration's list of tariff rates that other countries impose on the US puts ours at 10%. You said it should be 0. So where has that number come from? Is it just a fake number they've made up?
Well, they have imposed a minimum of 10%.
No, I'm talking about the rates that they say Australia imposes on them.
They have made a decision that there will be a 10% tariff minimum from every nation. That's a political decision. This is not an economic decision. This is a political...
The Trump administration's number saying that Australia has an effective 10% tariff rate on them, is that a real number or not? How did they calculate that?
Well, I think with respect, I did just answer that. This is a minimum of 10% that they have imposed. It's a political decision that the Trump administration have made.
Prime Minister, just to follow up on that beef question, I mean, we're all getting used to this idea that Donald Trump means what he says, and we all heard him today say there was going to be a ban on US beef as of midnight US time. So what information do you have that tells you that that's not happening?
I didn't say that. I said that beef was a part of the negotiation between Australia and the United States. In the written agreements that went between our two nations, it is one of the things that was discussed. We will, of course, seek further clarity about all of the decisions that are made, but the decision as well is to impose across-the-board tariffs on all goods entering the United States.
Doesn't that mean we have been singled out, Prime Minister?
Here.
On beef, you say it was an element of the discussions, it was an issue that was raised. At any point before this announcement today, did American officials say to Australia, we are thinking about banning beef imports? Was that particular issue raised in that way?
Look, there were a range of decisions made, including the United States seeking changes to the beef access regime to Australia. That was raised. Over here.
Prime Minister, you spoke briefly about meeting with Greg Norman, but what advice did he give you on how best to manage Donald Trump?
I'll tell you what advice I would give anyone I negotiate with and who we have private discussions with, which is to not come to a press conference and talk about the details afterwards. Look, Greg Norman clearly is someone who is a proud Australian. He's someone who, of course, lives largely in Florida. He's someone with connections with the US administration, and we are engaging with Australians who have connections with the United States to advance our national interests. Last one.
Prime Minister, is Jacinda Allen welcome alongside you on the campaign trail?
Yes. Thanks very much.